For the second straight season, the Dallas Cowboys open with a loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 19-3, as the Bucs come into AT&T Stadium and leave with their first win of the 2022 campaign. And now Tom Brady 7-0 against the Dallas Cowboys all time. Welcome into the First Word, presented by Dr. Pepper, here from the Star in Frisco, alongside the former Cowboys, Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback. We're going to break down what just happened at AT&T Stadium here over the next couple of minutes. But Isaiah, I'll start with you. Defense probably trending in the right direction. Micah Parsons had a couple sacks, both in big-time situations on third down in the first half. Held this Tampa Bay offense at bay really throughout the game, except for the one touchdown to Mike Evans in the third quarter. But the offense just never got off the ground.
There's an artist I used to listen to. His name was Bubba Sparks. His number one single was "It's Ugly."
It is.
Up in here. And that's exactly what it was tonight. These guys just couldn't get things figured out offensively. Dak Prescott was inefficient, to say the least. It's unfortunate that he went out with an injury. But prior to that injury, he was off balance, off kilter, inaccurate, couldn't get his guys the ball, seemingly wasn't reading defenses properly. He was throwing routes into coverages that you shouldn't be going to. Every play that's mapped out there, there's coverage beaters, and he was just going completely the wrong direction. And the ground game was working. You know, and Kellen Moore, we've talked about it in recent times. When something's working on the ground, Kellen Moore always struggles to seemingly just stay with the run. He wants to get to the pass, and it showed up again tonight.
And we just said all before the game that we would just try to make them one-dimensional Tampa Bay. Fournette came in 21 rushes, 127 yards. He was at halftime. He was right around 60 yards. We did not stop the run. So now Tom Brady, cabinet was open, and he just displayed himself. They methodically did what they needed to do. Our defense played a great game, I think.
Yeah, I believe our defense did play well enough to give this team an opportunity to win, especially in the red zone. They held them to 4 field goals and 1 touchdown. And when you do that to a Tom Brady team, you give yourself a chance out there. Micah Parsons, once again, started the season off right where he left it off last year with 2 sacks out there, was flying all over the field. But to me, this simply comes down to the offense just not being able to get in rhythm, especially Dak Prescott and these receivers. You didn't really see any type of separation from the receivers out there. Dak Prescott seemed to be off the entire night. So hopefully they can get this underway for next week going into Cincinnati. But right now, like you said, Isaiah, it looks ugly.
It was a balanced attack for Tampa Bay. They got the job done on their offensive end, as 195 yards through the air, 212 for Tom Brady, and as you take away kind of the net yardage and some of the losses there. But he had 18 of 27 for 212, had a touchdown and an interception. Then on the other side, Leonard Fournette, 21 carries, 127 yards. He really got after the Dallas defense in terms of the physicality. It felt like he was laying hits play after play after play, and it wore him down toward the back half of that third quarter.
They did a good job of just attacking. You know, we talk about how the offense of the Dallas Cowboys needs to be more aggressive in terms of coming downhill. We talk about don't go sideline to sideline against these linebackers. Well, Leonard Fournette and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took our word for it, and they came straight downhill. They were pulling like my guy Big Nate likes to see. Those guards and those tackles, those guys were coming up, working up to the linebackers, and then they let their big boy back come down there and just batter ram them his way into the first downs.
I mean, they were just methodical. They just beat at us, and then you saw some of them runs that was for 2-3 yards early, start turning into 5, 6, 7 yards, and then Julio Jones reverses. I mean, that's when you can start just opening your playbook and things start happening, and we didn't adjust. We didn't adjust very well. Now, they got out of the middle because we started stopping them in the middle. Then they started hitting on our edges, and, hey, we couldn't stop them.
Yeah, we couldn't stop the run. And then one matchup we talked about in preseason, the pregame show, was the height difference between these receivers, Julio Jones, Mike Evans versus our corners out there. You saw as the game started to progress, Tom Brady was able to take those shots downfield. And lo and behold, those 50-50 balls we talked about, Mike Evans was able to come down with them. They ended up getting a touchdown that way, and it was the end of the day.
And I definitely don't want to bury the lead here, because when you look at this game statistically for the Dallas Cowboys, you're going to look at Dak Prescott, and you're going to look at the inefficiency that was there from the quarterback position tonight. Dak doesn't normally have games like he just had. I mean, he ended up with a stat line, 14 of 29, 134 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. And Dak specifically, with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, statistically had his worst passing completion percentage of his entire career in a single game up until the 7-minute mark in the fourth quarter. Completed a couple passes late, and he was able to get that up to a little bit higher. But overall, what did you see from Dak Prescott and how he never really had a chance to get that offense off the ground?
He looked like a quarterback that needed the preseason.
Yeah.
He looked like a guy that was his first time getting out there trying to get some real life reps. I don't care how much you have these collaborative practices. I don't care how much you practice full speed. It's not the game. And I know guys are so concerned about keeping their players healthy throughout the preseason and making sure that they're good coming into the regular season. But let's call it how we see it. With all the changes that they had on the offensive front, with all the changes they had at the receiver position, the continuity was not there, and it showed itself tonight.
And the funny thing about it is our offensive line, they played okay, but then still started the holding. The offsides, and then the big holding. I mean, the young guy on the left side played okay. Your left guard that came in as a backup played okay. Your center held Vita Vale kind of virtually nil. But that right tackle kind of caved in as the game went on.
Yeah, and then when you look at Dak Prescott out there, he was definitely off. He was inconsistent throughout the entire day. But what has me concerned and had us all concerned pretty much all offseason was this receiver room. There was no separation between them and the defensive backs. I know Dak Prescott has to be a little bit more accurate, but there was no room for him to throw that ball in there. The receivers weren't making any contested catches out there. CeeDee Lamb and those boys, they got to step it up.
They got to step it up. I think really collectively as a team, the Cowboys would like to see a step up next week because it doesn't get much easier. The Cincinnati Bengals, coming off of a loss today against the Pittsburgh Steelers, will come to AT&T Stadium. It'll be another tough matchup, a physical matchup in week 2, just as it was in week 1. And they've got some injuries to deal with. Dak Prescott in a hand, Connor McGovern did not return, and Jaron Kearse left with a left leg injury as well. So we'll have plenty of updates throughout the week on DallasCowboys.com. We leave you with some final stats from this one as the Dallas Cowboys fall in week 1, 19-3. The final score. You can get more reaction and more post-game coverage on Cowboys game night coming up at 11 p.m. Central Time. We will take you through highlights, stats, and interviews from the Cowboys locker room following their opening week loss of the 2022 season to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. More to come on DallasCowboys.com.